The following is a project of our nonprofit newsroom. Support Midcoast Morning and local journalism today at chly.ca/donate. Local news doesn't survive without local support.
Hello and welcome to Midcoast Morning. I'm Joe Pugh. The local neighborhood association is hoping a major sewer upgrade will bring improvements for pedestrians on Hammond Bay Road. Barry Lyseng says he's been advocating for improvements to the road for 27 years. Lyseng is chair of the Linley Valley-Stephenson Neighbourhood Association. Hammond Bay Road has several sections which have little dedicated space for pedestrians on either side of the street. The RDN is preparing for a major infrastructure project that will see 4 kilometres of new sewer force main installed along Hammond Bay Road. Impacted sections will become one-way only for vehicle traffic while work is ongoing. That's expected to begin in early 2027. The project is expected to be completed in 2031. Lyseng is hoping that when all is said and done, Hammond Bay Road will have more space for pedestrians. The issue is the Neighbourhood Association's #1 priority request to the city for the year. I visited Barry Lyseng at his home along Hammond Bay Road to better understand the ask. So coming up pretty soon, start of next year, this is going to be one-way traffic.
Yes. The traffic management plan has decided that one-way southbound through the work zones, and this stretch of Hammond Bay Road from Departure Bay Road to the sewage treatment plant will be broken up into, I think it's about 12 different work zones over the next 4 years. So they will be restricting it to a southbound in those zones. Northbound, there will be counterflow for school buses or BC Transit.
And so while that work is being done, or after that work is done, you're hoping that maybe what we're seeing here could look a little bit different?
Yeah, we've been trying to do this for about 27 years now. We're the only stretch of major arterial road in the city that doesn't have a pedestrian space standard width on one side. 10, 15 years ago, we had a reality check that we weren't going to be asking for sidewalks. We were just asking for a standard width pedestrian shoulder. And so we've been working at that for about 10, 15 years.
So when you say there's no standard width pedestrian shoulder on one side, like consistent, what does that mean for someone who's trying to walk along Hammond Bay Road?
That means we have a neighbor who's recently wheelchair bound. We have families trying to get to the playground. That means along the southbound lanes, they have to walk entirely within a traffic lane. And this is there's no alternate route because of the geography and the subdivision layout. This is also a major road. There's over 11,000 commuters on this a day. This one road handles 35,000 people, which is approximately 20% of the population of Nanaimo. So it's an endangerment both to the pedestrians but also to the drivers, because it causes them to have to turn and move into the oncoming lane to avoid passengers or pedestrians.
Over the decades that you've been advocating for this change, have there been kind of accidents that you can remember involving pedestrians?
Thankfully, I don't have a recollection, but that doesn't take away the inconvenience or the lack of safety.
And what's your ideal vision of like what this will look like? You said 10 to 15 years ago you had a bit of a reality check. You're not necessarily expecting like a full sidewalk.
We realize that this is not the wealthiest community. And sidewalks cost a bomb to build. So our our effort has been to try to be very strategic, do things that are quick, do things that are relatively easy, relatively inexpensive. So that is looking for a pavement area of a standard width on at least one side of the street, and that would be on the south, along the southbound lanes. And we're not advocating for anything on this side of the street than along the northbound lanes.
So you're not even hoping to have both sides of the street that a pedestrian can walk on. You're just asking for one side of the street all the way along. There's a place where you don't have to walk on the road.
We will take anything over and above, but we're saying at a minimum. And for the longest time, we couldn't get that minimum. I think this is happening now simply because of the emergency repairs to the sewer force main line. It isn't that it really still managed to get up to a priority level with the city.
But is your understanding, is it going to happen as far as you know?
We were told that we were going to be having a presentation in late January on what was the specific responses to what the neighborhood has been advocating for. And that was supposed to happen in late January. That was delayed because they didn't have the level of detail. And recently we've been told that we will see that in now late August. So until we see it, we've been to this rodeo before. We'll wait until we see it.
Well, maybe we should go on a little walk here and see exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, well, I won't take you too far up here. But from a certain vantage point, you can see these are not the worst sections, but there are multiple sections along the southbound lanes where the pedestrian has as little as 8 inches between the white line and, let's say, a ditch or a concrete barrier.
And it must be garbage day to day, and you can see that that gets even less when the bins are there.
Yes, and there's really no allowance for on-street parking. So if one vehicle parks in this space, that forces the pedestrians further out into the street, into the vehicle lanes. But that's maybe just the way it is.
So in your ideal world, basically it's just that there's something other than white paint line separating us from the cars right now.
We have asked for a minimum. We have asked for simply a white line and 1.5 to 1.6 meters of pavement beyond that for a pedestrian to walk within. There has been a recent wrinkle to this. What we were told in the open houses in January is that to put in the force main, the few stretches of sidewalk that we do have are going to have to be dug up. And we haven't had a commitment that they will be reinstated. Within our neighborhood, we have 1.5 kilometers, 1.6 kilometers of frontage on both sides of the street. Within the entire 1.6 meters or kilometers, we have 165 meters of sidewalk. Some of those stretches of sidewalk are quite critical for pedestrians in that they are on an inside curve where there's no one speeding, no one drifting of vehicles into the pedestrian area. That sidewalk is probably the best insurance that there isn't a conflict between the pedestrians and the vehicles. So in those strategic sections where in the past we have been advocating only for a white line and pavement, we're wanting to see sidewalk or something that is as safe as a curbed space.
Got it. So you'll take the white line on pavement as long as there's a bit of space to walk on the pedestrian side of that, but on the blind corners and such, you're hoping for something a little bit more.
Yeah. So that's the best view from here. And this kind of situation where we're down to 8 inches of pavement continues in multiple sections for the next kilometre going north.
I guess it's not much better if you're a cyclist than a pedestrian, eh?
No, and I hope the cycling community hasn't felt that we've ignored them or neglected them. It's just we had to be as strategic and base as possible. So we would, again, hope for anything over and above the minimum we're asking for. And what the city had floated to us in the January open houses was that they would be looking at upwards of a 3-meter wide shared pedestrian cycling space beyond the white line. But it's going to be costly. And until we see the final plan, until we see the commitment by council to make the monies available, we're just being patient and waiting.
Beyond the infrastructure upgrades, are those kind of your neighborhood's number one priority right now?
It has been our number one priority for 27 years since the formation of the Neighbourhood Association in 1999. Council has been good to instate this new community engagement process for the last 4 years. Each neighborhood is allowed to submit 3 priorities. With our neighborhood, it's always been Hammond Bay Road, Hammond Bay Road, Hammond Bay Road.
And you're expecting to get more of a definitive plan in August.
That's what we've been presented to date. We're advocating for sooner so that we can critique or input to whatever the city is proposing, because the longer this gets stretched out, the closer we get to the imminent construction.
Midcoast Morning is part of our nonprofit newsroom project, supported by listeners like you. Keep this program on the air by funding it today with a monthly sustaining donation at chly.ca/donate. We've got tote bags and shirts if you need an incentive.
We're talking about calls for pedestrian improvements along Hammond Bay Road on today's program. The Linley Valley-Stephenson Point Neighbourhood Association views a planned sewer force main upgrade as an opportunity to realize long-hoped-for changes to improve walkability along the route. As of early 2027, traffic on sections of Hammond Bay Road is expected to become southbound only while new sewer force main is installed. The Neighbourhood Association called for improvements to pedestrian, cyclist, and transit user infrastructure related to the project. Its number one priority request to the city for 2026. Barry Lyseng is chair of the association. On Tuesday, I visited him at his home along Hammond Bay Road.
Presently, I'm chair of the Linley Valley-Stephenson Point Neighbourhood Association. I've lived off and on in this neighborhood since 1971, 72. And when I retired, I bought this property. It's one of the last stretches of Hammond Bay Road that reminded me of what Hammond Bay Road was like 50-some years ago.
Well, what was Hammond Bay Road like 50-some years ago?
Well, Councillor Thorpe and I will reminisce about there was horses. There were people riding horses on this stretch of Hammond Bay Road 50-some years ago. There was little dotted horse farms, and from Piper's Lagoon on to Woodgrove, virtually no traffic.
And that is not the case anymore. In fact, we're here to talk about traffic. One of the things you're calling for is more space for pedestrians on Hammond Bay Road. You said that kind of advocacy has been going on for 27 years. Have you been a part of that for all of those 27 years?
Not consistently, but starting in 1999, the city started a process of neighborhood plans. And I happened to be just moving back to Nanaimo at that point and got on that committee to help develop a plan. And this was identified as one of the key problems in our neighborhood.
So what was that advocacy like in 1999 when you were first getting started with it?
Well, the process was new to everybody. It was new to the residents. It was new to City Council at the time. And there wasn't really a planning department, really manned or staffed to facilitate that as well. So it was a learning curve for everybody.
And now if you walk me through from then to now, what is kind of the narrative of how this issue has been played out, what you've heard from the various iterations of Nanaimo City Councils and Nanaimo City staff as far as the potential to get some of the road improvements you're hoping for?
As I was saying before, I think there's a recognition that we're not a wealthy community. That said, there's a real endangerment to people trying to use their community. It's not about just families trying to get to the playground. It's as simple as trying to get to their bus stop. It's trying to visit each other. It's just trying to generally move around their neighborhood. Unlike older sections of the city where you have a grid system, there are no practical alternative routes. We all use Hammond Bay Road if we're trying to get from one end of the neighborhood to the other. The city in the past has said to us, it's an expensive proposition. This evolved from, as Ian Thorpe will say, a goat track. And it's true. There was no real planning. There was no real foresight. When the city took over this portion of Nanaimo in 1974 from the regional district, there hasn't been, as far as we can see, one dime spent on pedestrian improvements, initiated for pedestrian improvements. We've gotten stretches of very short stretches of sidewalks because of a developer developing his property, and then they're required to upgrade in front, or the city has had to put in a sidewalk as a part of land slippage. But there hasn't been any initiative to really address the growth of the neighborhood and the need for pedestrian improvement, like every other major arterial in the city.
Which brings us to this Force Main project. Starting in 2027, it's expected that traffic on Hammond Bay Road is going to be one way, while the city, the regional district upgrade critical sewer infrastructure. Is that like an opportunity in your view to finally address some of this?
Yeah. I remember talking with Bill Sims when there was, who was director of engineering services, when this was first announced, and I said, "This couldn't make me happier. You're going to have to reinstate with some proper pedestrian infrastructure here as a consequence of the disruption of this." And so now we wait to see exactly what that will be.
So your first reaction to hearing the road to your house is going to be one way, southbound only, maybe for 4 years, is great. We're finally going to get some pedestrian space here.
We didn't know that they were going to go with the one way option. Our experience in the past is when there's been disruption on Hammond Bay Road, it's a two-way alternating lane. But we'll leave it to the engineers to discern that which is the best way to handle this. There are some very tight, difficult sections to build, and presumably they have looked at the safety. We have some unanswered questions right now. Is to what degree is our ability to be serviced by emergency services? How is that going to be compromised or not? We would like to know. This area already falls well outside of the recommended response time for emergency services. So we would like to go into this with our eyes open, knowing that the option they have chosen, the one-way option, is the least impactful on that already compromised situation.
Are there any other questions or things you're wondering about on specifically that big construction project?
No, I hear from council quite often trying to emphasize to the public that this is a critically needed project, and it's inherent there's going to be a disruption. I would like to have council staff know that in the 6 to 12 months that we have heard about the project in any level of detail, we have not, as a neighborhood association, we have not heard one person question the need for it, or not understanding the complexity of it, and not appreciating there will be disruption. We just want to make sure the disruption is as minimal as possible.
Do you think either the neighborhood or the wider community who maybe just use Hammond Bay Road to go to Neck Point or something, do you think folks are broadly aware that this project is happening?
I suspect not. I think that's just the nature. Everyone's very busy with their lives, and maybe they hear it, but they won't really put two and two together until confronted with it.
You've mentioned that in the past you've maybe taken some city councillors around the area to show them what it's like as you've called for better pedestrian infrastructure. Can you tell me how that's gone? I've
had a number of councillors here over the years, not just with this council but previous councils. Entirely sympathetic, and a few quite surprised. A few have said, "Oh, I drive through here, but I had no idea what it was like from a pedestrian point of view." So here we are.
And Nanaimo now has this process for neighborhood associations to submit kind of their 3 action items every year. Is it fair to say, you were suggesting earlier, maybe like this is item 1, 2, and 3 for you? Is that a fair understanding?
Pretty much. 1, 2, and 3. Every once in a while we'll throw in another issue. Quite often it's related, again, back to how captive we are to Hammond Bay Road working at its best performance. The best example of that is we also suffer from poor to no cell reception in this section of the city, and we can't. And we're a little bit captive to how easy emergency services can get to us. That's one of our other concerns about the traffic management plan. Has the compromised emergency services system being considered for when they institute a one-way versus a alternating lane process?
Has the cell reception improved in very recent years? It's my understanding that there are finally some steps being taken, towers installed.
We were one of the first public advocates for improved cell reception. We didn't suggest any particular technology. We were just trying to make sure that council and staff understood that this was an area that was compromised. When when TELUS proposed the cell tower at the sewage treatment plant, we were hopeful that it would improve our services. But I've had conversations with TELUS over the last year where they acknowledge that really hasn't happened. It may have improved sections east of the sewage treatment plant up to about Piper's Lagoon Park, but for our section of Hammond Bay Road, no, it hasn't resulted in any improvements. So that is still on our to-do list, is to get an improved cell reception through this area. But that's a longer venture, and it's not something that the city actually can take a lead in. That comes from the telecoms themselves.
Is there anything you would want to say to folks who maybe aren't from the area but do drive on Hammond Bay Road?
Watch out for the pedestrians. If we are walking in your vehicle lane, it's only because we don't have an alternative. and drive safely and drive responsibly.
And you've suggested that almost like you'll take anything at this point as long as there's space for pedestrians to walk. But do you have like a dream or a stretch goal? I know we've seen in other areas of the city some of the, like I'm thinking of around Metro Drive, where there's the like separated path with the bike area, with the path for pedestrians. Do you have like an ideal, if the budget was infinite and you could redesign Hammond Bay Road, what it would look like?
No, we don't. We are focused on just getting a minimum. That sounds like we're not ambitious, but we are. When we have been presented with restrictions on the amount of monies available or staff resources to look at it, we have to focus strategically on the minimum. If the city wants to give us something more and different, terrific. But no, we'll stick with minimum right now.
Is there anything else you'd like to bring to the conversation today on this?
No, I think this is terrific. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Well, Barry, thank you so much for welcoming me into your space.
Okay.
Barry Lyseng is chair of the Linley Valley-Stephenson Point Neighbourhood Association. We reached out to the city of Nanaimo. Phil Stewart, the city's manager of engineering projects, said in an email, the city is currently working on concepts with the intention of meeting with the neighbourhood associations later this summer. He also pointed to the project's FAQ, which said in part that the city of Nanaimo is currently assessing options for surface improvements within the constricted roadway and limited budget. More info is expected in later 2026 before construction begins. That's our show for the day. Thank you for joining me. I'm Joe Pugh, host and producer of Midcoast Morning. Jesse Woodward is our executive producer, and Arby Frew is our technical advisor. You can sign up for CHLY's newsletter at chly.ca/subscribe. If you have a story you'd like us to cover, you can email us at news@chly.ca. Our theme song is First One by local Nanaimo band Waste Management. That's all for now. I'll talk to you on another Midcoast Morning.
This program gives thanks to the Snuneymuxw First Nation as we broadcast and podcast from their traditional territory.